Once every generation, a trial lawyer of the stature of Joe Jamail comes along, an attorney who, with dogged tenacity and decades of faithful advocacy for the rights of the injured, is elevated to a position of national acclaim and respect. A passionate advocate of structured settlements, trial lawyer of the century, Joe Jamail.
I have the privilege today to be with one of the great lawyers of our time, and probably one of the greatest lawyers of all times, Joe Jamail from Houston, Texas. And probably his greatest legacy is the work he's done on behalf of his clients and making their lives better. And a lot of that's been accomplished through being a lawyer who's been sensitive to and knowledgeable about structured settlements. What's your advice to members of our profession who practice tort law primarily as to when and how they should consider a structured settlement?
The lawyer has an obligation to try to explain to the client, look, your case is probably going to be worth a large amount of money. We need to be thinking about what you're going to do with that. You know, stock market is a real gamble. You could go to Las Vegas and bet on the dice tables, or you can be secure. You can have guaranteed income for life. You can take care of your children. You can send them to college. We can formulate plans. Well, they're interested, but it's the lawyer who has to get them interested. So I do it very early, and then I try to introduce them to our broker, and then she gets to know them. At least she's not a stranger when the case is concluded, coming in cold and said, I'm your broker here, sign here. Nonsense, they're not going to do that.
You start the process very early on.
Yes, and we even planned it early. We even started talking about different types of options. That's where the broker fits in. Look, we can fix it so you can have a certain amount of, what does it take for you to live comfortably now that you can't work? What's it going to take? House payments, car payments, whatever it is. All right, set aside enough money. Now you have children. I mean, do you want to go to college? We can start their money coming in at age 18. Brokers can be very imaginative, can very, very creative, and create different kinds of plans.
In our own practice, if I heard, well, I don't need a professional to handle my money, my cousin or my next door neighbor is going to handle that. What's your advice to a lawyer who's having to deal with that or how to confront that?
And I would tell anybody, any lawyer, that who wouldn't consider, and that's the early question, structured settlements from the very beginning is not doing a job for his client. How about a child? Let me be interviewer. What would you do with a blind child? Give the daddy and mommy the money? Doesn't work.
Doesn't work.
I'll give you some examples if you want it.
We'd love to.
I got sued once because of that.
Okay.
I had a child who was horribly injured. The child had a brother and a sister who were not involved, who were not injured, not affected in any way. I was able to get a net of about $30 million for the child. Child needed 24-hour care, constant care. I don't mean to look and see, constant care. The parents were objecting to the structure. I said, I don't represent you. I represent this child. We're going to the courthouse. Sometime later, stock market went up. The parents then sued. First they tried to sell the annuity, but I already put a provision in, court order, can't sell it. I'd do that because these people, there are hucksters around that'll go buy these. So my court orders read, no settlement of this without court approval. Well, anyway, then they sued me because the stock market went up. And they could have made more money if they had taken the money and put it in the stock market. Well, that, of course, was thrown out immediately, the case. But that's just an example of what people will do. They wanted to give part of this blind child's money to a brother and a sister.
At what point do you think the lawyer's role stops? Do you think the lawyer just hands it over to the broker and that's the end of it, or has the lawyer got to be an advocate even in that process?
They're not going to sign anything without me okaying it, structured settlement or not. So I'm always present because the lawyer has to be there. It's the lawyer that they trust first, the broker second. Let's be honest about it.
Have you had a situation that you could share with our viewers that a person just wouldn't take the settlement structure?
It's happened. It happens a great deal. What happens is you lose control over them If you don't start early, and back to that again, and you start with the adults, children I can handle. There's no way that the parents or anybody going to get the children's money in my cases. The courts trust me enough to understand I know what I'm doing. And the really debilitated people trust me. But when they come in and they want to go out and think about it, they go to the nearest beer joint, talk to whoever there plays the saddest song, buys the next round, I guess. He's finally become a financial advisor. And they're just gullible.
By contrast, the same question, have you ever had a client who was sort of hesitant not to do a structured? You wanted them to do it, and they finally, in your persuasive way, convinced them it was in their best interest, and years later came back to you and said, Mr. Jamail, I just have to tell you, that was the best thing that ever happened in my life.
I see it every day, and I don't want to brag, but yes, I don't try to talk them into it. What I do is, again, to advocacy, show them the advantages and the disadvantages. Are you going to want to be worried about whether General Electric stock goes up or down tomorrow? Or do you want a guaranteed income? You were a working man. You would have retired on Social Security and whatever retirement you could have got. Why'd you work? To get your house paid for, be out of debt, and have enough money to live on. Well, right here is that package. You pay for the house today. Here's enough money for you and your family for the rest of your life. If you die tomorrow, it's guaranteed for 25 years. Your wife will be taken care of. And if you want the money back, we can reduce this income and give you your whole $10 million back in 20 or 25 years. And they're easily convinced if you use the right words in communication, and if you've been honest with the client, and if you've groomed them from the beginning.
This video was sponsored by the National Structured Settlement Trade Association and produced in partnership with the Legal Broadcast Network. You can learn more about structured settlements and how to select or locate a settlement professional by contacting the National Structured Settlement Trade Association at nssta.com or calling 202-367-1159.